All right, good afternoon. Welcome back here to Trader Minute. Great to have you aboard. Let's get to it. Challenge. We have Micron on the board here. Stock right now is trading at 44.50. So we're about 70 cents, 80 cents away from the stop level. It's come off its lows nicely here from this morning. Still down a little bit. Certainly not in a position where it's making us money for the challenge or doing anything. Uber fantastic here. Would be awesome to see it kind of end here, maybe just slightly higher, and then get a nice little gap up and follow through tomorrow. We'll see kind of how that plays on out. We will be hitting up against our time stop tomorrow, so we'll need to see a rally in the stock tomorrow in order to hold it. So that is Micron. Now, not able to get into another position at the moment because of Micron. I mentioned this morning I thought gold had a chance of triggering bullish here today. It's not triggering. Excuse me. Consolidation risk component, while lower than what it has been, is still a little too high here for it. So no setup there with gold. We have some downside crossover action with things like Intel. Excuse me, I got the hiccups all of a sudden. With things like Intel, but no downside trigger here with it. In fact, let's take a look at the scans here real quick. The downside scan right here, you can see all the names on here: Chipotle, Intel, Micron, the same names as this morning: Nike, UPS, Walmart. The new name on here is Target, that wasn't on here this morning, but you can see it coming off of a new high here. Walmart, similar action here to it, and both crossovers, the way they run through the algorithm, are both showing a high consolidation risk associated with them. On the upside scans, let me pull that up here. There we go. We have just GLD, right? And we already talked about that one. So that's where things are sitting. Not a whole lot, out there today. We're not seeing the market metrics, move a whole lot here. If you look at something like the bullish percent index, it's still, gravitating higher, just slowly. Nothing, too dramatic there with it. If we look at the sector breakdown here of, let's see here. Okay, I'll deal with that later. If we take a look here at just the thought process here, the stocks that are moving today, right? The sectors that are on the move, and what is happening. We have yesterday's laggard: materials leading today, energy up, healthcare, communications, consumer staples, right? We have tech on the bottom along with consumer discretionary. Both of them had earnings elements that put them into this area, but in all, we're not seeing a major sector move. If we look over the last 1 month, you can see the financials leading the way. Energy, materials still on the bottom, and tech still very flat. But we are starting to see industrials perform okay, discretionary perform okay. Not picking up in a super bullish manner, but in a little bit more of a bullish manner than it has been over the last 310, which is kind of Goldilocks for the bulls. It's just kind of Jones chart. And, you can start looking and going, well, is it going to the upper band? Is it going to the lower band? Is it going to the 200-day moving average? Is it going to break out? We have higher lows, right? And we have a nice little kind of cup and handle pattern here on the Dow. With the S&P, we have a nice little ascending wedge pattern. But yep, it doesn't preclude the market from making another move here to the downside. but the metrics are not suggesting that move is on here just yet. And then if you look at small caps, we've had a nice move off the lower band to the upper band. Small caps have been a nice little outperformer here in the month of October. All right, so that's where the metrics sit here. For the market vibe, where the scans sit. Market's still waiting on a lot of earnings. We've seen the Caterpillars of the world, the FCXs of the world, the Texas Instruments, Boeings. We're going to be hit with a lot of earnings here. Today and tomorrow. And, earnings that could easily move the market. For instance, Microsoft here after the bell today. To me, that is the biggest one on tap. We do have Ford and Tesla, but I really don't think those are going to be market movers. To me, Microsoft is the market mover there. And then tomorrow afternoon, we'll have Amazon, we'll have Intel, and we'll have Visa, which all three will, be market movers here. And things that, could, really, if you're looking for that catalyst for, the next big market move, those are potential, catalysts here for that. And, we'll see how that all plays out. I'm very interested in American Airlines earnings in the morning. There's a stock that's on the challenge watch list as well. Valero here as well. And kind of how these stocks react to their earnings. The earnings themselves, right? And the earnings that we are seeing themselves are generally coming in, about as we would expect. At the same ratios we would expect, slightly better than expected on the revenue side. Earnings beats are a little bit less than expected. But overall, it's a very normalized type of earnings season here so far. And so what's really interesting to me is how stocks react to the earnings, that they are faced with. And, it's one of those where you take a look at something like a Chipotle, who reported earnings here this morning, and we can see the stock down. Look at the earnings per share beat. Look at that beat. That was a monster earnings per share beat, right? And a revenue beat. They beat on earnings, they beat on revenue in a huge way, and the stock is down big, right? Take a look at Caterpillar. What did Caterpillar do? They missed on revenue. That was a pretty good miss on revenue. On earnings, and then an even bigger miss on revenue. So missed on earnings, missed on revenue. Where's Cat trading right now? Well, Caterpillar's trading higher, right? Caterpillar's trading up $2. And where's Chipotle Mexican Grill trading? After a big beat, they're trading down 5%, right? It is the nature of earnings season, and it's one of those where we are seeing, at least so far, that the names that have been worried about, that have come in with halfway decent earnings, that aren't just, awful, the stocks have been rewarded. The names that the market has rewarded for a long time, it's not mattering how they do. Their earnings aren't mattering. They're falling on their earnings regardless of how good the earnings are. And I think that's one of those where we're seeing the market go back to valuations. And, we talked about it as the market came off of its lows, back here. This buy-in of valuation. It wasn't a buy-in of the best. It wasn't a buy-in of the big revenue growers or earners. It was a buy-in of valuation, and we are seeing, that element carry forward here this earnings season. So very interested to see how Microsoft, what their earnings look like, and more importantly, how does the stock react to what those earnings are. I suspect the earnings will be pretty solid, but is that going to be good enough? Or are they just going to be put into the bin there with something like a Chipotle Mexican Grill? I don't think this element is overly bullish or overly bearish. I think this element is much more just an adjustment side here for the market. And something we've seen in the past. We don't see it every earnings season, but certainly not outside the scope of normal. But something that I do think shouldn't be forgotten. Meaning, if Microsoft has some fantastic earnings and we see the stock get sold off, the stock will get bought up again throughout the course of this quarter. Chipotle, throughout the course of this quarter, will have a monster rally in it. when is that going to happen? It's not going to happen today. It's not going to happen tomorrow, most likely, right? It's going to take some time, but ultimately it is going to see a very nice rally. And I think that's one of the things that you can kind of start to do during this earnings season is take some of those solid earners that are falling on earnings and go, okay, you know what? These are the ones that when they stop selling, these are the ones I want to be buying and, run with it from there. Thanks for hopping on. Have yourselves a fantastic day, and we'll talk to you tomorrow. Take care.